Welcome to this custom-tailored deep dive. We're really thrilled to have you with us today because we are tackling a mission that feels a bit like looking into a crystal ball that is, already starting to crack open.
Yeah, it really does feel like that.
Right. Today we are exploring a truly visionary source document on what it calls the epistemology of data and the rapidly approaching reality of Web 4.0.
It's a heavy title, I know, but the stakes here are deeply practical for you. The goal today is to prepare you for a near future where data completely stops being this abstract thing that lives behind a glass screen.
It's stepping out into the real world.
Exactly. We are looking at a paradigm where data steps out into the physical world and directly governs our biological and environmental systems.
Okay, let's unpack this, because before we even get into Web 4.0, we really need to ground what that phrase, epistemology of data, actually means in practice.
Right, because
It's a
epistemology,
philosophical study of truth and knowledge.
yeah, it can sound incredibly academic.
It really can. But the source frames it brilliantly. So think about an old paper map. A map is entirely static. It shows you the roads, the mountains, the borders. It's just a snapshot of reality, frozen in time.
It describes the world, but it has no actual relationship with the world once the ink dries.
Yeah.
I mean, if a bridge washes out, that piece of paper obviously doesn't update.
Right.
It's completely passive information.
Right, but imagine if that map suddenly started watching the traffic, feeling the barometric pressure, analyzing the wear and tear on the asphalt, and then redrawing the physical roads themselves while you were driving on them.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Suddenly that map is no longer just describing reality, it is actively dictating it.
That is the perfect visualization of the epistemological shift we are navigating right now. We are moving from data as a descriptive record to data as a prescriptive engine.
A prescriptive engine, I like that.
And, to understand how we got here, we have to completely abandon how we thought about data over the last 20 years. The source document goes right after that old cliche you still hear in corporate boardrooms.
Oh, the data is the new oil.
Exactly. Data is the new oil.
I am so glad they dismantled that because it has always felt, fundamentally flawed to me.
How so?
Well, oil is finite. You drill for it, you extract it, you burn it in an engine, it turns into toxic exhaust, and then it's gone forever.
Right, it's a single-use battery.
Exactly. A single-use battery. But if you look at how large-scale models actually function today, data is nothing like that. If anything, I'd say data is more like a sourdough starter.
A sourdough starter. That's a fascinating way to look at the mechanics of it.
Right, because you feed a sourdough starter and it grows, it multiplies, it self-renews. You can pull half of it out to bake a loaf of bread and the remaining half ferments and becomes even more complex.
Built on itself.
Yeah. The more you process data, the more synthetic data you generate from it, the richer and more dense it actually gets. It doesn't deplete when a machine learning model uses it. It becomes the substrate for the next generation of learning.
And that biological analogy tracks perfectly with how the source defines the memory of modern artificial intelligence. We really have to stop viewing large language models and generative AI as just, clever software compiled by engineers.
It's much deeper than that.
It is. The source argues that these models are the literal crystallized outputs of humanity's entire written and visual heritage.
Every digitized manuscript, every forum debate.
Every architectural blueprint. Data now serves as the collective memory and the foundation for logical reasoning for these systems.
Which fundamentally changes how these systems make decisions about us. Because they have that immense historical and behavioral memory, the source highlights this terrifyingly fascinating detail. Algorithms have entirely eliminated the guessing phase of decision-making.
Right. We are moving from heuristics to determinism.
Okay, break that down for us.
Well, in the Web 2.0 era, predictive modeling was largely statistical guesswork based on broad demographics.
Like putting people in buckets.
Exactly. The system would say, you are a 30-something professional in a major metro area, so statistically, you probably want this type of vehicle. It was a very crude approximation of your identity.
But I want to push back on that slightly, because hasn't predictive targeting been incredibly precise for a while now? I mean, we've all had the experience of talking about some niche brand of vacuum cleaner and then, seeing an ad for it 10 minutes later.
Oh, absolutely. The microphone paranoia.
Right. So how is this new deterministic model fundamentally different from the targeted advertising we already live with?
The difference lies in the shift from tracking your explicit actions to tracking your involuntary microbehavior.
Involuntary.
Yeah. Advertising traditionally tracked what you searched for, what you clicked, or what you bought. The transition the source outlines relies on microscopic, often subconscious, physiological data.
Wait, really? Like, what's
Yeah.
it?
It's the exact fraction of a second your thumb hesitates over an image before scrolling. It is the pressure you apply to your glass screen when you type. It's the microdilations of your pupils captured by your front-facing camera while you read a headline.
So they aren't waiting for me to tell them what I want. They are reading my central nervous system's reaction to the world.
Precisely.
Mm.
Algorithms process these tiny, invisible interactions to build a psychological profile that completely bypasses your conscious mind.
That is wild.
The source states very clearly, these systems now know an individual far better than that individual knows themselves.
Because we lie to ourselves.
Exactly. Humans rationalize.
Yeah.
We lie about our habits, our biases, our desires. But your biometric micro-behaviors do not lie.
Wow. So if data is this living, breathing organism that understands our subconscious better than we do, where does it actually live? Because it is clearly outgrowing the servers running the apps on our phones.
It definitely is.
And here's where it gets really interesting. This is where the source transitions into the architecture of Web 4.0. The internet is shifting from a destination you passively log into, like opening a browser window, to an environmental ecosystem you literally live inside of.
And to function within that spatial ecosystem, the source introduces the necessity of the digital twin.
Now, we aren't talking about like a cartoon avatar and a virtual reality headset, right?
No, not at all. A digital twin, in this context, is a highly sophisticated, continuously updating mathematical replica of your physical and biological self.
So what exactly is feeding that replica? How accurate are we talking?
Extremely accurate. We are talking about a model built from your sequence genetic map, layered with real-time biometric signals.
Like from a smartwatch.
Like your resting heart rate, your blood glucose levels, your cortisol spikes, and then continuously cross-referenced with your complex social and financial behaviors. It is a completely synchronized shadow of your existence.
And the practical application of this isn't just to, sell me better running shoes. The source points out that medical systems will run thousands of simulated stressors on your digital twin overnight.
While you're sleeping.
Yeah, they can detect the mathematical probability of a cardiac event or an autoimmune flare-up months before you feel a single physical symptom in the real world.
Or that amount to the macro scale. Urban infrastructure will run simulations on millions of digital twins simultaneously to predict traffic gridlocks or optimize energy grid loads.
Or even model the spread of a pathogen based on the exact behavioral profiles of a specific city's population.
Exactly.
But wait, the processing power required to run real-time biological simulations on millions of people is staggering. The cloud isn't fast enough for that, right?
It's not. Latency is a huge issue.
Because if my autonomous house is managing my oxygen levels or reacting to me having a medical emergency, a 200 millisecond delay to send that data to a server farm 3 states away could literally be fatal.
Which is exactly why the architecture of Web 4.0 requires edge computing.
Okay, edge computing.
Right. The cloud is too distant. The processing has to happen locally, at the edge of the network. Meaning, your home stops being a passive shelter of wood and drywall.
It becomes part of the machine.
Yes. Through highly advanced Internet of Things integration, the physical structure of your house becomes an active data production and processing center.
So my refrigerator, my mattress.
The microscopic sensors woven into your carpet, they're processing your biometric data locally, making split-second decisions about your environment.
And this changes the very nature of what the artificial intelligence is actually doing in our lives. The source makes a massive distinction here between generative AI, which we have today, and agentic AI, which powers Web 4.0.
Yes. What's fascinating here is that generative AI creates content, but agentic AI executes intent.
Executes intent.
Right. In the past, data was a passive receipt of what you already did. But future data, powered by these agents, is built on active intentions.
So it's not waiting for me to ask it to do something.
No. AI agents won't wait for a prompt. They will analyze your physiological and environmental context to understand what you intend to do or what you need to do, often before you consciously formulate the thought.
Let's ground this with a concrete example from the text, because the conflict resolution capabilities of agentic AI are just wild. So, say I had a brutal day at work. My biometric sensors pick up elevated cortisol, increased heart rate, and fatigue.
You're stressed and tired.
Exactly. And my immediate primal intention is to order heavy, terrible comfort food. The algorithm knows this.
But the agentic AI also has access to your calendar, which shows you are training for a marathon.
Right.
and your blood panels, which show you need specific macronutrients.
Right. So the agent doesn't just show me an ad for a burger. It understands my overarching intention is health, but my immediate constraint is biological exhaustion.
It sees the conflict.
Yeah. So without me ever lifting a finger or opening an app, the AI autonomously orders a highly specific, nutrient-dense meal from a local ghost kitchen.
It prepays for it using a smart contract.
And it adjusts the ambient lighting in my living room to lower my cortisol levels before the food even arrives.
It acts as an autonomous fiduciary for your well-being.
A fiduciary.
Yes, it navigates logistics, financial transactions, and environmental controls based on a holistic understanding of your active intentions.
I mean, that sounds like an absolute utopia of convenience. It's an invisible concierge managing the friction of daily life.
It does sound great on an individual level.
But if we pull back and look at the macro implications of this, if autonomous agents are making behavioral choices based on our highly intimate digital twins, whoever controls the hardware and the server architecture inside our walls holds an incomprehensible amount of leverage.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, this is where the source shifts into the new geopolitics of data pools. And the terminology it uses is intentionally aggressive.
Yeah, it frames data as the ultimate strategic power parameter, functioning as a tool of new colonialism.
New colonialism.
Which implies extraction and subjugation. How does having a smart fridge equate to colonialism?
Well, because historically, global power and colonial expansion were dictated by the conquest of physical land, control over shipping choke points, or the extraction of raw materials like gold, rubber, or oil.
Right, physical resources.
But in the era of Web 4.0, physical territory is secondary. The most critical geopolitical struggles are for the absolute control of data pools.
Okay, data pools.
Yes. The entity, whether it is a nation-state or a transnational megacorporation that controls the most comprehensive pools of behavioral and biological data, controls the predictive models.
And whoever controls the predictive models can anticipate and therefore shape global events.
Exactly.
Now, I want to address something here. The source points out something fascinating about how state actors or massive corporations can use these immense data profiles to invisibly nudge human populations. And I want to be very explicit here for you listening. We are looking at this purely through the mechanical lens the source provides.
Right, we're just reporting the mechanics.
Exactly. We are not taking sides or endorsing any political viewpoints regarding any specific states or corporations. We're just looking at how the technology functions.
And technologically, the nudge is a well-established concept in behavioral economics.
Right. It's the idea of designing choices in a way that predictably alters behavior without actually forbidding any options.
But Web 4.0 weaponizes the nudge. Because the overarching system has access to your digital twin, it knows your specific psychological vulnerabilities and your biometric baseline.
Meaning it can subtly alter the information diet you receive? It could tweak the emotional resonance of the colors on your displays or time the delivery of specific news items to correspond with your lowest blood sugar dips.
Yes, gently steering your emotional state and forcing a predictable decision. It uses your own biology to manufacture consent.
I have to stop and ask the hard philosophical question here. I mean, if data is now used to determine not just what we consume, but how we feel, are we actually making our own choices anymore?
That is the big question.
Right. If my physical environment is perfectly, invisibly tailored by an algorithmic agent to trigger a specific neurochemical response that leads me to vote a certain way, or buy a certain asset, or resent a certain demographic, am I exercising free will, or am I just a rat reacting to the most luxurious, invisible cage ever built?
That is the defining ethical dilemma of Web 4.0. The boundary between your autonomous choice and the algorithm's predetermined outcome completely dissolves.
You don't even know what's happening.
You fundamentally feel like you are making a free, sovereign choice, but the parameters, the timing, and the emotional context of that choice were all calculated and set for you. You aren't being forced, you are being cultivated.
Cultivated. Wow. Which requires a level of monitoring that brings us to the most unsettling part of the source material. To have this level of geopolitical power and to execute this invisible nudging requires absolute unbroken surveillance.
It does. The source calls this the digital panopticon.
The digital panopticon.
And this panopticon relies entirely on a concept called the invisible UI, or user interface.
Okay, think about how we interact with technology today. There is always a physical barrier. I know when I am using a computer because I am holding a glass rectangle or I am sitting at a keyboard.
You have to actively engage with it.
Right. I can put the phone in a drawer. I can close the laptop. There is an off switch.
But the transition into Web 4.0 means the interface disappears. The technology becomes perfectly transparent.
It's just everywhere.
Yes, the sensors are integrated seamlessly into the paint on your walls, the fibers of your clothing, the steering wheel of your car. As the interface vanishes into the environment, the data collection process becomes entirely invisible.
You don't log on anymore.
No, you are no longer logging onto the internet.
Yeah.
You are simply existing in a physical space that is constantly reading you.
And the source warns that this creates a very real technical reality where the basic human right to not be tracked might become physically impossible.
How could you opt out?
Exactly.
Yep.
You can't turn off the sensors if you don't even know where they are, or if they are woven into the structural integrity of the building you are standing in.
The concept of opting out becomes a relic of the past. And this forces a profound evolution in how we have to think about security.
So what does this all mean? This was the biggest aha moment in the text for me. The source draws this razor-sharp contrast between traditional data theft and Web 4.0 security.
It's a completely different paradigm.
It really is. In the past, if a hacker breached your life, they stole your password or maybe your credit card number. It was a massive headache. It was a violation. But you called the bank, canceled the card, reset your passwords, and moved on.
Because you were protecting external assets.
Yeah.
In Web 4.0, the data being collected and potentially compromised is your biometric baseline. It is your genetic predispositions and your real-time neural patterns.
You cannot call the bank and get a new genetic code.
No, you cannot.
If someone compromises your digital twin, they aren't just stealing from you. The source calls it the literal hacking of your digital existence.
Think about the implications of this. If a malicious actor gains access to the local edge computing in your smart home, they don't need to steal your money.
What could they do?
They could introduce a 50-millisecond delay in how your ambient lighting responds to your movement.
A 50-millisecond delay, that's nothing.
It is completely imperceptible to your conscious mind. But over 6 months, that micro delay disrupts your circadian rhythm, induces chronic migraines, and drives your baseline anxiety through the roof.
That is terrifying.
They can manipulate the environment to feed false health data back to your physical body, or spoof your biometric identity perfectly to commit actions on your behalf that are mathematically indistinguishable from your own behavior.
So we are moving from protecting our wallets to protecting the sovereignty of our own biological reality.
Exactly.
Given these unbelievable stakes where your neural data could be weaponized, your free will invisibly nudged by state actors, and your very environment constantly monitoring your pulse. How does anyone listening to this actually survive?
It's daunting.
How do you maintain any sense of human autonomy when the walls are quite literally watching you?
The source doesn't sugarcoat it. It offers a very stark conclusion that requires a total reevaluation of our place in society.
Okay.
Historically, humans define their primary identity through their occupation or their social status. You viewed yourself primarily as a doctor or a parent or a business owner.
Right.
The source argues that to survive Web 4.0, your foundational role in society must shift. Your most important job will be acting as your own life data manager.
Your life data manager. So treating your digital footprint with the same urgency as your physical health.
More urgency, actually. Managing your data streams, understanding how to actively anonymize your biometric outputs, and auditing the algorithms that govern your edge computing this will become as essential to your basic survival and freedom as securing food and shelter.
And the text presents this as an absolute ultimatum for the human race. It paints a picture of a brutal divergence in human evolution, driven entirely by digital literacy.
A huge divide.
The individuals who learn the highly technical skills to protect, properly process, and actively compartmentalize their data will be the ones who remain sovereign. They will be able to leverage the immense power of agentic AI on their own terms.
And those who do not. Those who continue the Web 2.0 habit of blindly clicking, accept terms and conditions, and handing their biological data over the ecosystem for the sake of convenience.
They will be reduced to mere statistics. They will become entirely predictable, fully managed nodes in the network, nudged and directed by external algorithms from cradle to grave, without ever realizing they are no longer driving the car.
It is a profound responsibility. And this raises an important question, one that builds on everything we've unpacked today about the epistemology of this data, but pushes it to its logical, philosophical extreme.
Oh, I'm ready. Let's hear it.
We have established that your digital twin is not just a file. It will eventually contain a flawless, real-time mathematical map of your genetics, your biometric fluctuations, and your active subconscious intentions.
Right.
It is, for all intents and purposes, a living, breathing digital mirror of your consciousness, running constantly in the background to optimize your life.
It is me translated into math.
So at what point does that digital replica become so complex and so inextricably linked to your biological survival that it starts having rights of its own?
Wait, really? Oh, wow. That completely changes the paradigm.
Think about the mechanism of the simulation. If medical or urban systems subject your twin to intense simulated trauma, like a viral outbreak, a localized natural disaster, or a severe economic crash, just to see how your physiology would react.
Does the twin, on some algorithmic level, experience that stress?
Yes. And more importantly, if your twin is maliciously manipulated by a bad actor in a simulation, how long until you feel the real-world psychosomatic consequences of a purely digital wound?
It's the ultimate voodoo doll. When the map perfectly mirrors the territory in real time, destroying the map might just destroy the territory.
Exactly.
That is an incredibly heavy reality to process, and it brings us right back to the beginning. We are no longer navigating the world with a static paper map that just shows you where the roads are. The map is alive.
That's watching you.
It is learning your biology, and it is reshaping the physical world beneath your feet before you even take a step. The boundaries between your biological reality and your digital existence aren't just blurring. Very soon, they will vanish entirely. It is up to you to decide who holds the pen that draws your map.
The role of the life data manager isn't a future concept. The training for it begins today.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the epistemology of data. We'll leave you to ponder how secure your digital existence really is.